What's up, guys? It's Nero. Welcome to Chapter 2, Fundamentals. Now, it's important that you really lock in and you pay attention to these fundamentals because fundamentals are often overlooked. But this is probably going to recorrect a lot of the knowledge that you've accumulated over the past couple of months, weeks, or years, however long you've been in the manifestation kind of space. Now, here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover seeing cause and effect everywhere. We're going to cover the mirror principle and its forgotten rule. We're going to cover the true definition of manifestation. We're also going to cover how long does it take to manifest, which, is a question I'm sure that you have, a question that everybody has, a question that even I had. So let's get into it. Now, reality is an effect, and the mind is forever the cause. Stop. Reality is an effect, and the mind is forever the cause. That one sentence alone is powerful if you really internalize this, because this is the sentence that your mind seems to forget in every encounter that you run into in reality. Now, from every situation, to every scenario, to every circumstance, to every loss, to every win, to every deal, reality is an effect, and the mind is forever the cause. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Nero, why do you seem to be emphasizing and repeating this much? Because, like I said, this is something that is often overlooked, and our mind easily forgets this, because what you have to understand is, take me, for example. I'm 22 now. I got into this information when I was 15. I've read over 350 books. It's been an 8-year journey. And I still forget this. And it's funny because I spent 15 years of my life seeing reality as real. You understand what I'm saying? And however long you got into this, whatever age you got into this information, how you need to see it is giving yourself grace to realize we spend most of our lives being accustomed to a particular way about how reality is. And once you begin to see reality as an effect, then you'll no longer look to reality for the cause of every situation. Because what often happens is, there might be a particular deal that goes wrong or a deal that goes right. And we look to ourselves and we think, okay, so what was it in that scenario that caused that win? What was it in that scenario that caused that loss? But you're looking in the wrong place. You're looking at an effect. An effect does not affect an effect. I know that was trippy, but you understand what I'm saying. The only thing that can alter an effect is a cause. So instead of looking at reality for the reasoning of whatever happened, you quite literally need to rewire your mind and think to yourself, how the hell did this happen mentally? Attaching it to the mind, because the mind is forever the cause. And you really need to extrapolate this and see this in every single scenario, every situation, every loss, every win, every deal, every person that you communicate with from a business point that doesn't go right. If you have somebody who's late on paying you what they owe you, instead of thinking that person's an idiot, why are they doing this, and trying to look for maybe what went wrong in that particular scenario, attach it to your mind. How did my mind lead to the sequence of events in reality, which is an effect that led to this person giving me the runaround? And remember, you need to extrapolate this to every scenario in your business. And the more you can extrapolate this to every area in your business and your life, the more you're going to be able to see reality properly, which is exactly why this week is called the lens to see reality through. Now let me sip my green tea because I'm getting too hot. Now, reality is a mirror reflection of your subconscious mind, and I want to emphasize that in particular. And people don't realize this, right? A lot of the times in the kind of manifestation space, they just paint the label over the mind. But the conscious mind and the subconscious mind isn't the same thing. And, I'll do a little breakdown, right, on what I mean by this. The conscious mind is what you think with. It's what you're thinking with right now. You might be thinking, damn, this Nero guy, he's really cooking, or he's talking too slow, or whatever it may be. What am I going to eat for dinner? Why was that person looking at me like that the other day? I need to get this done. I need to chase up this guy. I need to do this. That's your conscious mind. That's everything that you can account for. That's everything. If I say to you, what's in your mind right now, and you tell me that's your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is below your conscious, and it is the origin of your reality. Now, you can't tell me what's in your subconscious mind, unfortunately. And the subconscious mind doesn't speak the same language as the conscious mind. So whereas most people will, do something like affirmations and have no emotion, that doesn't get down to the subconscious level, because the main language of the subconscious, and write this down, is emotion. So whatever your reality reflects to you is what you've been emotionally convinced of. And this is what I speak about in version 1. So, make sure to go over that. And it's important that you go over all of this information weeks at a time, because what you'll realize is that your mind consciously begins to see things that it didn't see before. Now, reality is a mirror reflection of your subconscious mind, and it will always be delayed. It will always be delayed. I'm going to say that again. It will always be delayed. But it's not about the reflection, it's about you. And what I mean by that is, we always hear that reality is a mirror reflection. But when you hear mirror reflection, what your mind begins to think, it's like you quite literally going into mirror. You think, okay, if I start thinking like this person that I want to be, then my reality should change instantly. The same way that if I go into a mirror and smile, it's going to smile back at me. It doesn't work like that. The mirror reflection of reality is always delayed. So imagine you smile in the mirror and the mirror is still frowning. And the mirror is going to smile in about 10 seconds, but because you see a frown, you're like, damn, this doesn't work. Nothing's changed. And so you go back to frowning. And just as the mirror was smiling, it goes back to a frown. And then you see it changing a bit. Then you're like, oh my God, let me smile again. And then you're playing this game of catch up without realizing that, one, it's not about the reflection. It's about the person standing in the mirror. Because the mirror will never smile before you do. And when it does, it will be delayed. But it's not about the reflection. It's not about reality. Because here's the thing. Reality will only change when you internally shift to a degree where you are no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing it change. Once you get to a point where whatever it is, whether it's a monthly, whether it's a revenue goal, whether it is to attract investors for your startup, whether it's to list on the stock exchange, whether it's to accumulate more clients, no matter what it is, right? Reality will only change when you internally shift to a degree where you are no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing it change. That's when it will change. That is when reality will change. When you're good with it and you're good without it. If you have some emotional dependency on seeing reality change, if you are thinking to yourself, man, I'm in a state of stress right now, I'm burnt out, I'm worried, I'm going through it. And, if I materialize this goal, it will change everything for me, man. It will really make this work. Then reality will never change. And it's funny because that's how we've been taught to think. We've been taught to associate our change and our emotional state on reality. But if reality is an effect, that's just silly. Now, like I said, reality will only change when you shift to a degree where you're no longer emotionally dependent upon reality change. Let's say you have a particular goal. If that goal materialized and you jump up and down with excitement, then unfortunately for you, my friend, it is not going to work. You need to get to a point where when that reality does change, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. That element of nonchalantness is powerful. Now, here's the thing. People say to me, Nero, how long does it take to manifest? And I say, all manifestation is instant. And they're like, what? Yeah, all manifestation is instant. See, it's still not registering in your mind, is it? Here's what I mean. Real manifestation isn't about changing reality. And if your definition is, then of course it's not going to be instant in your head. But real manifestation isn't about changing reality. It is an internal shift of consciousness to a degree where you are no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. So just like what I told you previously, this is what true manifestation is. Once you no longer need to see your reality change to feel satisfied, joyous, accomplished, grateful, peaceful, excited, whatever it might be, Once you do that, that's when true manifestation will take place. And here's the thing, all manifestation is instant from the moment that you decide to become the individual that lives in the reality that you want. The moment you decide that you are the individual who makes 500K a month, the moment you decide you are the individual whose company has, attracted a round of investors successfully, the moment you decide that your company is going to list on the stock exchange, the moment you decide you're going to get this contract, the moment you decide that you're going to get to 20, 30, 50, 60K, whatever it is a month, until you stop, is how long it takes to manifest. So the moment you put on those shoes to the moment you take them off is how long it will take to manifest. Because true manifestation isn't about you getting that change in reality. It's about you shifting to a state of consciousness, which is exactly why most people never manifest. And it's because their definition is we manifest, which means we alter reality, or I materialize what's in my mind into reality. And that definition doesn't work for people because they're missing the point. True manifestation is about you shifting to a point where you no longer need to see reality change for you to feel the emotions that you would feel if it changed. That's real manifestation. That's what it's all about. So here's what we've covered today. Seeing cause and effect everywhere, in every loss, in every win, in every scenario, in every circumstance, right? We've also covered the mirror principle and its forgotten rule about it being delayed. We've also covered the true definition of what manifestation is. So I don't want to ever hear you say, hey, Nero, my desire hasn't manifested, because if you say that to me, I'm going to say you missed the point. So go back to week 1, chapter 2, and go over that again. And finally, how long does manifestation take? Now, with that being said, I shall see you guys in the next chapter.